Morning, everyone. Wakey, wakey, rise and shine. Right, I've only had one brew this morning so far. Need another. It's going to have to wait though, isn't it? Right. I'm just going to go through this again. The circles with the brads. Oh, brain's not in gear at all this morning. Okay. Because I don't think I explained it very well yesterday, and I've had a couple of messages to go, what do you mean, Carol? So, I'm just going to go through it again. So, to act as the closure, what you would need to do is I'm gonna use my bigger circle punch so that you can see. Oh, in fact, hang on a cotton picking minute. Let me get that, because that's difficult to see against that, isn't it? So let's say you punch out, let's do this one down here. This is what you call planned. You can see this is well planned, can't you? Okay, so let's punch a squircle from there. Okay, said circle. I'm going to punch a hole in the middle. Now I would normally get my my polystyrene board thing to punch a hole, because the last thing you want is to be going through your finger. So I'll punch my hole, and I'm going to wiggle it about a bit because I'm putting in a big brad. Wiggle it just a little bit. I'm actually bodily moving as well, dancing in my seat. Okay, big brad in there, and pull the prongs back. Now, as you can see, these prongs are too long. That one is especially, so I would probably need to cut that one down. So we'll do that, and we use the far end of the scissors here. Now that has now given that a sharp edge. Okay. And I'm going to trim the other one down a bit as well, because it's really close to the edge. Make sure that you see where those go. Be careful when you're cutting, because they can shoot everywhere. And the last thing you want is for that to be going in your eyes. Make sure that you've got them to be able to physically put them in the bin. Health and safety warning here, because if they fall onto the carpet and you stand on them, you'll know about it. And so will anyone else that stands on them. Okay. So if I now stick that to my page, it's now in contact and there's no gap between the sheet of paper and the squircle. Alright. So, a couple of things you can do. One is to punch another circle and stick that on the back, so you're now covering up those prongs. Because the other thing is as well is that if you leave just that on its own, as you wrap your thread around, it will catch on what you've just cut, or just the prongs of the brad. Alright, so if you glue one to the back, then you know that you're protected, or your thread is protected as you wrap it round. Now, one of the things that you'll find is that once you've stuck those two together, is again, you've still got a flat surface. And just quickly stick that on the back. That's going to take a little while to set. But you've still got a flat surface which will be in contact with your page. And you need a little bit of a gap. Let me bring it back in again. You need that little bit of a gap there, look. Just underneath there, to be able to wind your thread round. So, you could just cut a little square, a couple of little squares. Don't use that foam square stuff, because that will stick to your... Oh, I didn't get that very central, did I? Don't use the foam pads, because as you wrap your thread round, it'll stick to the sides of the foam pads. But you need to pad it out so that it's slightly raised from the flat surface of the paper, because it's no point being just totally flat. All right, so it needs just lifting up slightly. And one of the things that you can do is, have I got, oh yeah, I have got it to hand, is this stuff, the glossy accents. If you leave a dollop of that in the middle, so if you watch, that'll be clogged. Anyway, pretend I've just put a dollop of that in the middle, and I leave that, I set that to one side and leave it. Glossy accents actually dries, and it can form a raised surface. So if I put a dollop of glossy accents on there and leave it to dry, that will then form a hard surface on there. Just a tiny little drop in the middle. All right. You can use your glue gun. That will do the same thing. It will leave a slightly raised mound of glue in the centre. All right. Then when it's dried, you then put another bit of glue on top of the mound and attach it to your page, and it makes it so that there's that tiny little gap between the paper. Lift it up and see if you can see, because I'm just a bit wary of everything falling out of this now. Yeah, twiddle it round. So, can you see there's a... I'm blocking you in the light now. I don't think I can do this well enough for you to see. But there's a tiny gap between the flat of the paper. And that's flicked off. Can you believe it? Whilst I'm recording, thank you. Very professional. Anyway, so yeah, look, I've put a tiny little button on the back of it, look. On the back of that one, to give it a raised edge. Hey, my glue didn't work on that one, did it? Anyway, moving swiftly on. Oh dear. Yeah, all right, you can stop laughing now. I can hear you. Right, come back. I need you. That's funny. Okay, we'll re-stick that later. Turning the page very swiftly and ignoring the fact that that just happened. Ah dear, only me, eh? Only me. Earlier on in the series of this section, I talked about this folded page here, so that you'd got a very short folded edge. So this was one full sheet of paper and we just folded one end in, and it formed that. But it meant that when you come to the other side of the paper, on the other side of the signature, it extended beyond the rest of the pages, look. So it's like, you could just cut it off. What's the point of that? You might as well just fold it in, and then you've got an extra piece of journaling space here. So this page you've already created, hopefully. So as you can see here, I placed some lace on the edge of this. And then when I flipped it open, I did a tiny little belly band there. And then there's quite a lot of these. Hang on, I've got another one. Long strips that you can cut out of the magazine and make those into like a bookmark. And then if you attach paper or card on the back, then you can actually use that as a writing space as well. And then that just slots in there, like that. So you've added a sort of nice decorative element to this part of the page, and you've got this extra writing space as well. Okay, next page is this one. Now, we've done some fold outs before, earlier on. Now, this one, I just want to say that there are some really lovely pages in the magazine. Let's just see if I can have some, I mean, like, look, beautiful image. And I love her. It's another beautiful image. I don't want to cut her up, you know, but I would like to include her in my journal. So how can I do that? And it's the same with the digital kit as well. Sometimes you get a whole page and you're like, oh, I actually don't want to fold that in half. I want to see the whole thing. So you can do this. And because we're nearer the back of the book, you've now got this flatter surface. All right. If we're here, there's a step down before you reach your flat surface. Whereas here, we're on a flat surface. So if you wanted to make this into a writing page, when you flip it out, it's got a nice flat surface. Move them out the way. Nice flat surface for you to then to write on. And so all I've done with this one is I've just folded. Sorry, I know that you can't see all of this because it's limited as to how much you can get on the camera. But all I've done is I've just folded the whole page and I've folded it into thirds. All right, so one, and I've concertina folded it as well. So I'm hoping that you can see all of that. Now, I've got my beautiful image. What I could do is I could put some coffee dyed paper on the back of this, so then it also becomes a writing page. So if I wanted this side as the writing page because it's falling onto the flat surface, I would put the coffee dyed paper on this side and then have the lovely image on this side so that you would be able to write easily on there. Okay, because obviously now if I've got it so that the writing paper is on this side, I have to fold it out that way and I can't write on it so easily because I've got the bulk of the rest of the journal. So the writing paper would need to be on this side. All right, now again, all I've done, my magic micropore, which I know quite a few of you are now using. It's great, isn't it? Love that micropore. And it's a 1/2 inch wide that I use normally. I do have some 1 inch wide as well for a few other bits and pieces, but in the main I use the 1/2 inch wide. All right, and I put a piece of micropore on this side. It's also known as surgical tape, and a piece of micropore on this side to attach the end of the page to the signature page. Right, so then we've got this swinging action again. Right, and as I say, folded into 3. Now to just cover over a little bit of the micropore here, I just added a little strip of paper that I'd got left over, punched the edge, so I've now got a little bit of a tuck spot as well. So it just adds that little bit more of an interest to the page rather than it just being a continual white piece or coffee dyed piece of paper. All right, that's all there is to it for today. The only other thing that I really wanted to mention was I got asked about the magnets again. Just get them off eBay, get them off Etsy, and I use the 5mm in diameter magnet by 1mm deep. It's the depth that matters more. Because if you go for a 2, 3 or 4mm, obviously that's going to stand prouder from the page, and you want it as flat as is possible. Obviously the larger in diameter that you go, when you're trying to put something on the edge of a page, if you've got too big, it will overhang the edge, and then if it's too big and you put it further back, then it's too far back from the edge. So anywhere between a 5, 6, 7mm diameter will do you. Anything more than that might be a tad too big for when you want them on the edge of the pages here. All right, and that's all there is to it. Last element page tomorrow, which is that one in there. It's just there, right there. Last of that tomorrow, and then we'll move on to putting it all together and start to talk about a few of the other decorative things that you can do. Okay. Second cup of tea moment. Right, I'm off for my second brew of the day. See you tomorrow. Bye.